you want to change your life, you have to understand what's going on in your subconscious mind. And so we're gonna dive deep in that today. And I am here in beautiful Portugal. I'm so happy to be able to show you this beautiful view right now, and that it's focusing on the background. So I'm camping here with a new friend, and she showed me this beautiful spot, and she does van life part-time, and we did an inner child workshop yesterday in this yurt, and it was just like such a wonderful experience. Surprisingly, my favorite part was the dancing. And so usually I hate that part of like retreats and stuff when they're like, okay, now everybody get up and like, let's dance. I always feel like it's so like cheesy, and like I've done it before, and this time was different. Like it was 10 minutes of like hula hoop and like throwing the hula hoop to each other, and everyone just like moving without judgment. But we had done it after we accessed the inner child, and we're like communicating with her. It was a women's event, and then to dance like that, it was like, wow, setting yourself free. I think a lot of us have to grow up really quick when we're younger, and maybe we didn't really fully experience what it's like to play and to have that joy. Or, ooh, don't blow over. It's a little windy here. Let's see if it's gonna stay here. Okay, I think that's better. Now you're balancing on a flip-flop instead of a curtain. It's a little cold too. So yeah, I was like, wow, like just dancing and moving without judgment and like actually playing. It was a really nice experience, and I love my family, I love my parents, but we didn't like grow up in a house where like there was a lot of dancing. Like we didn't play a lot. We were like competitive and super athletes. And so anyway, we were doing some exercises to access the subconscious mind, and one that I had never done to this extent. So a way that you can access the subconscious mind, which is really easy, is like you can brush your teeth with your opposite hand. So like when you're doing your teeth brushing in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, if you're one of those people, do the opposite hand. And people like to do affirmations at that point, which I think can be powerful. But if you're just like telling yourself like, I'm abundant, I'm whatever, I'm all these things, but you have a subconscious pattern that tells you otherwise, like it's not gonna resonate. So neurons that fire together wire together, right? And what does that mean? It's like so our subconscious mind is programmed mostly until the age of 7. And so whatever's going on around us is programmed into us, and it creates us as our human. We're a soul having a human experience, but our human experience, I feel like my hair is just like, the human experience is going to be determined a lot by what you experience during those times. But also, like, it's not just during those times. Like, we can develop illnesses because we get initial symptoms. And so like we're often like, we'll have food sensitivities because say you're living in toxic mold and you're eating like a certain amount or like a certain diet, your body will recognize like those foods as dangerous because you were having them in the toxic environment, whether it's toxic mold or with like a toxic relationship or like in a toxic childhood. Am I okay? Maybe I'm a little sick. So we have these things, right? We wire them together within our subconscious mind. And how do we change them? So if we're talking about the inner child, which is one part of our subconscious mind, we can do the toothbrush thing. But what we did yesterday, which I thought was really interesting that I wanted to share with you, is you can write a letter to yourself with first your dominant hand. Like maybe you write I'm left-handed, but I'm also a bit ambidextrous, but you could write a letter to your inner child with your left hand, and then you can respond with your right hand. So when you use the opposite hand, or when you're like breaking patterns, like you're kind of disrupting patterns, you're accessing the subconscious mind. And so you can be like, what did you need that you didn't get? And then you can write back in your subconscious, in your non-dominant hand, but your subconscious. And then we did, how do I explain this? It's not something that I can really explain because I feel like I would need to guide you there. Well, I can kind of briefly explain it and you can experiment with yourself. So you can go into your mind, like center, or into your awareness and center, and like we've talked about on here before, like center down to the root of the earth. This is how you like get connected, or like get online, is like what I've been calling it recently. So you connect down to the center of the earth as if you're like growing roots, or like sending your energy down and just like anchoring there. And then coming up through your crown chakra, up to the one infinite creator, the truth of who you are, source energy, like your higher self, whatever it is, the highest dimension possible. And then back down through your heart. And in your heart space, you expand out to the entire universe. And here you can call forward, you know, your inner child. What we did yesterday was, which I've seen in a lot of like hypnosis type, or heard in hypnosis type videos and whatnot, you see a screen in front of yourself and you kind of watch it. You see yourself in this current day, and then you press rewind and you keep going back and back and back and back until your mind, your subconscious, tells you where to stop. And so mine stopped when I was 5 years old. It seemed like that was kind of like a common time for people to stop. And you meet her. Is she excited? Is he excited to see you? Shy, nervous, whatever. And mine was at a time where we were like just starting kindergarten, which is like when you just start school in the States other than preschool. And I just remember telling myself, or thinking to myself a lot at that time, like, don't forget what it's like to have this awareness and this consciousness. Like, they're gonna put you through school. It's crazy to think that I was thinking this as a child. They're gonna put you through school and you're gonna start forgetting, but don't forget. And I used to, like, every year I had this like thing, this under my bed, where I would collect like a souvenir from the year to try to like anchor in to older me, like each year. So like you don't forget what it's like to have this. And I think like many of us, I went through a period of time where I did forget. I was like, I don't want to remember. I don't even, at that point, didn't want to be here. I was like, it's too hard, it's too intense. And so that's when I was like a teenager. I was partying a lot, I was going unconscious, I was like, you know, going through it. But now, fast forward to this point in my life where like I'm choosing to be with the inner child, I'm choosing to be aware, like I can embrace that part of myself. It was a really nice union with her in that subconscious time, or like experience. And so she was also like showing me like how the class went to a pond, and it was like a real memory, and it was outside the classroom, and we were just watching tadpoles. And I remember like everybody else didn't matter. I was just like watching the tadpoles and like seeing how cool it is that they turn into frogs. Like, that fascinated me. Nature fascinated me. The transformation that's possible fascinated me. And she's like, this is the best part of the class. Like, they're not like trying to program us, they're just like bringing us back into the truth, into nature, to what's possible. And so from there we did the writing with our non-dominant hand, and like asking, okay, like, what do you love? What do you need? What do you want? And writing the answers from there. And that's how you can like have a true conversation with that inner child version of you, is by going to that place in meditation and then using your non-dominant hand to respond while you're still in there, you know, staying in that trance and bringing out the truth so that you can then reflect on it. So I thought that was fascinating. You know, other ways we've talked about on here with reprogramming the subconscious mind is doing like EFT tapping. That's one of my favorite things. And so you would have, like, if you know there's something that's coming up, like, you know, you're feeling a lot of lack or whatever, you would just go through EFT tapping. And we've talked about it before, like I said, or you can find other resources on YouTube. and reprogramming. And then you're accessing the subconscious from there. And so I always like to say, like, when you do a round, sit with it, see what comes up, and then after that, do whatever is coming up, another round on that, and another round on that, depending how much time you have, how much energy, like what's coming up, if you can move through it at that time. So like there are many ways to work through the patterns within our subconscious. But what the teacher was saying yesterday, which is like so true, a lot of people here in Portugal are from all over, at least Europe. I was the only one from the States, like from a different continent, but it seems like a lot of expats come here together, which is beautiful. And so she was saying, like, it's interesting because you'll move to a new place, but you still have the same stuff, the same stories, the same patterns that you still have to deal with. There's always this funny memes that people send to me on Instagram where it's like, moving to another country isn't going to solve your problems, and then there's like this dancing guy, like, whatever kind of thing. And it's funny, but it's true. It's not like I moved here to like solve all my problems. It's more of like a soul calling, and also like really to dive into, not problems, but into the next chapter of me and evolution of me. So like there's no way of avoiding the things that are within you. You have to move through them and rewire them. And so I've talked about this as well, so I don't want to repeat myself if you watch my daily videos, but reprogramming the mind, another way is through brain retraining. So like Joe Dispenza work, neurons that fire together wire together. So it's really as simple as that. It's like you're bringing up that pattern, like you're aware of that pattern, you're like feeling that fear, that constriction, whatever, and then you're going to, in your mind, in your energy, invoke a high vibrational feeling. And so I like to have this like image of my dream home and like my animals and my future husband and like whatever. The only thing that matters is that it's high vibrational. And so then you go straight into that and you're like in that. And so like in DNRS, it's like multiple, which is a brain retraining program for chronic illness. It's like you go through multiple steps. So it's like, I can't really remember all the steps right now, but it's like accessing like, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. And then it's saying like, even though in the past I was experiencing like sinus pressure and anxiety and blah, 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 and then you like move it to a saying like, I now see that that was like protecting me, and that was just my limbic system. And then you talk to the limbic system, which is like a 3-year-old. Like your limbic system is part of your nervous system, right? And so it has the intelligence of a 3-year-old, but it's like, it's controlling our whole life. And so it's sending us these signals that we're not safe, and that we, we have to have these symptoms or these fears that like protect us and keep us procrastinating and keep us doing like these things that like keep us away from the life that we want, the health that we want, the abundance that we want, the love that we want. And so you can look at it and be like, thank you so much, limbic system, for trying to protect me. But we have a new thing that we're doing. We have a new program that we're running. And then you turn to yourself, and like in this practice, you actually go through the steps, but like I just did it in my mind because I was like, I don't need to be standing for an hour a day, because that's like what the program tells you to do. And when you're chronically ill, like I was like, standing for an hour a day sounds really hard. So in my mind, I would turn then to myself and like, okay, what state do you choose? And then you would say like, I choose, I'll say that next. Something just came to my mind, but I choose like to be calm, confident, free, abundant, like all these things. And then you would go into, I hope that you're following me right now, because for some reason this has to come through. But then the next step would be invoking like a memory of the past real quick, like, but a good one. And so if you have like a limbic system and like subconscious patterning that tells you your past was never like happy, which is what I kind of was experiencing when I started this. I was like, I don't know if I have any good memories, which isn't true, because then I would find one, and even if you have to make it up, being in that energy, oh, this is so fascinating. Being in that energy, like, wakes your mind up to the library of other memories that are good, are feeling good. And so as soon as I found one that was like so beautiful, I was whitewater rafting through the Grand Canyon with two of my best friends, and we slept outside under the stars, and it was like one of the best times of my life. I was like, this feels good and free, and like there's no predators down, from what I know, down in the Grand Canyon. And so it was just like, I felt safe, and it was so fun, and we were like telling stories around the campfire. And so those feelings, and then the next round I did, another great memory came to me. And so it's like, when we start putting our energy towards these things, like these chosen vibrations, memories, then we start opening up to other things. But then immediately after that, you go into like a vision of the future. And so Joe Dispenza always talks about having a vision of the future, but you're wiring your brain. So you see in that progression, like you notice the subconscious pattern, symptom, limiting belief, whatever. And then you go through this progression of like, okay, but that's in the past, and I choose this now. And this old memory gives me evidence that, like, you know, good things happen, but also then you're accessing your mind, your memory, and then you're choosing this vision of the future. And it's like, it's rewiring your brain, but it's also helping with manifestation, because you're doing this visualization of the future, of what you want, of what feels good. And so there are so many ways that we can work with the subconscious to change our life. There are so many ways, and you just have to find the thing that works for you. And I think so often we can like try to overdo it, and then we're like, I can't do any of it, it's too much, I'm too busy. So just pick one habit. Like maybe it's just the toothbrush thing every morning or every night. Maybe it's just one time a day. And looking into the mirror, that's another thing, like eye gazing, and just seeing yourself and saying like, yeah, you know, you went through it, but I'm here to listen to you. I am so proud of you. Like things that resonate, not things that like feel like, if you're saying you're so abundant, but you're like, your subconscious is like, no, I'm not. So it's like, maybe you look in the mirror, you're like, I choose abundance. And then you hear that limiting belief and you're like, oh shit, I caught you. Let's tap on it. Let's rewire it. And then we get to move through it, and we get to recreate our life by changing the patterns within our mind. We're never victim to them. We have the power to change our mind. You see these people that go to these retreats, like Joe Dispenza retreats. He's just a leader in the space, but so that's why I always use his examples. But like, people go to his retreats and they're like healing these incurable diseases. They're changing their entire life. Like, you can have every single thing that you want. It's your choice, and it takes some dedication. But you don't have to spend another year, another 5 years, another 10 years in the job that you don't like, in the relationship that you don't like, in the financial situation that you don't like. You can change it all if you want. So that's the message. This is a beautiful day. I think that we are going to go down south again and go to another beautiful spot like this. And then I think I'll do some van lifing around Portugal for the next week. And then I have to head up to France and go get some more paperwork for the van, because I've talked about this, but the old owner gave me just barely expired CT, which is like the what you need for a technician to verify that it's all good to sell the car here in France, or in France. And then my mom's coming. And then one of my best friends, one of my favorite people, she just booked a flight in May in Vienna, in Austria. So the plan is to go to France, spend the next month there with my mom, and go to the south of France and go to this really spiritual area that I'm excited to tap into, and then share whatever downloads on here that I get there. And then after that, I'm thinking Italy for a month. Maybe go see more of Italy, because when I first got here, I was staying on Lake Como for a month and a half. Well, it ended up being a month because I left a little bit early to go travel with a friend who we have since parted ways. International travel can bring up everything that's really going on in a relationship, which is great because you can either deepen or you can be like, wait a second, this is not serving me or you in the best way, so let's part. But anyway, gonna drive through Italy, hopefully see Amalfi Coast, and then go up and see the Dolomites, and then head to Austria or Switzerland, and then Austria. A lot of my stuff is in Switzerland at my family's house, my cousin's house. Half of my family is from Lugano, which is the Italian speaking part of Switzerland, and so go back there and just do this adventure. It's like, it feels so good to have this freedom. When I was walking here this morning with Arlo, I was like, wow, there's so much to look forward to. And when I was in California a few months ago, 4 months ago, well, before I made this decision, which was 7 months ago that I made this decision to come here. Hopefully you can hear me with the wind. I was just like, I was in a good place. I was comfortable. I was having, you know, a lot of great things around me, community, gym, all that. But I was missing that, like, looking forward to life feeling. And I was having these callings, but I was too afraid to get uncomfortable. And so then I was like, you know what? I don't want to get older and wonder. I don't want to just like live in these patterns like I've talked about. Sorry, I keep saying this, like I've talked about before, but my Aura ring, when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this is just like the circle that I do, because it has a GPS. So I was just like looking at the circle that I do, and it's kind of the same manifestation of like, you're repeating your patterns, you're walking the same circles your entire life, like you're just doing the same things. But if you can disrupt patterns, you can change things. And that's like why we would use the non-dominant hand. If you've seen that really weird new movie that like won a bunch of awards last year, it's about jumping timelines, and the way that you jump timelines is by disrupting the patterns. And so in the movie they have to do something like really crazy to disrupt the timeline or the pattern, and then be able to jump to somewhere that they need to get to. It's a really weird movie, but the concept is really true and profound. And so if you know the movie that I'm talking about, please put it in the comments, because I don't know what it's called. They were like dildos in the movie, that's all I remember. It was like very interesting. So anyway, that's a video for today. I'm gonna wrap it up. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Please give this one a thumbs up if you're here right now, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment if you have anything to add or share, or any kind of experience with this, or any other way to reprogram the subconscious mind that you love doing. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.